Thank you all for being masked up. Unfortunately, the news is that in the last week, the COVID cases in Lincolnwood have tripled. So it's not over. I'll be glad when it is over, but it is not over, and we must keep them on, or we can't have a program. Have you decided whether you're wearing this? You're not wearing it. Okay. Well, tonight we have Karol with a K, Verson, and you've probably seen Karol around because she has already started several activities, lots of fun, and I have a feeling that she has a few more up her sleeve, which will also be a lot of fun. So if everyone is ready, and I think you are, let's start. How long have you been here, Karol?
I think 9 months. It's about time to give birth.
Of another program.
Yeah.
Of another program, yeah. I don't know. And are you from this area?
Yes, I am. I was born in Chicago at Michael Reese Hospital, and that's in Rogers Park. I lived in Rogers, 6831 North Greenview. My father was a dentist, and interestingly enough, he went to Northwestern, and at the time there was a quota, and he was Jewish, but he did get in. And also he was an antique collector, and also collected first day covers, and he wanted me to sell them, and I tried to sell them. And does everybody know what a first day cover is? No. Okay. So what he did is he had contact with famous people like Churchill. He had Churchill's autograph, but he sent it to various postal districts. So Winston, he sent it to Winston, and then Churchill, towns, and they postmarked it. Then he got the signature, and so he had a whole collection of various signatures from all over the world, actually. And I had them, and he thought they were going to be bought by a museum and everything, but that didn't work out. So I did sell off some of it, and also there were some letters from famous people. And so I gave the rest of it to my daughter to see if she can do something with it. He had 3 sisters, and 2 of them lived till 104. So that's good for me, right? I'm gonna be a long liver, maybe.
What kind of liver are we talking about?
My mother was a housewife and a good cook, and she was kind of spunky. I went to field school first. I don't know why, but then I got transferred to Kilmer. And Joyce Kilmer, I skipped a grade somewhere along the line, and I slept in an indoor bed because we had a very small apartment. So my parents slept in the bedroom, and we had to it's in a closet, and then you bring down the bed. I don't know, some people call it something different. But
Murphy.
Anyway, so that's where I slept.
It's called a Murphy bed also.
Murphy bed, you got it, Ray. Okay, so, and then I went to Sullivan High School in Rogers Park. And yay, Sullivan. How many here went to Sullivan? A couple of people. I know Rosemary did. Anyway, not at the same time. And then we hung out at Freugen's, Ashkenaz, etc. And I just wanted to read something that was written in my novelist, the yearbook. Dear Karol, if it weren't for you, I'd probably go mad in civics class. You have a true sense of humor. I've never met a funnier girl. Besides which, you have a lot on the ball. I really enjoyed coming into close contact with you these last 2 years. Art. And then, it has really been great knowing you for these past 4 years, and I will always remember you because of the witty remarks you always made. However, The only reason I never went out with you is because my shaking hand never wanted to just shake hands. So that was high school. Moving right along. Let's see, I moved to Skokie. Oh, I went to Sullivan, and then I moved to Skokie, and my neighbor was a speech therapist. And so I decided that would be my job. I would be a speech therapist. But my first job was at Culver School, named after the principal. And then I did go to the University of Michigan, and I roomed with my best friend. And I was always angry at her because she was taking art classes, and she never had homework. So I kind of beat up on her, and I said, "Where is your homework?" And she said, Then I ended up teaching 6th grade and speech therapy. I was a speech therapist for a while. Then I took after I graduated, I took a trip traveling in Italy, and I had a romance on the ship, and the guy's name was Pino Ubaldo.
Sounds like a wine.
Yeah.
It does sound like a wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a big romance on the ship. Under the starry skies, he connected with me in Rome, and we romanced and traveled through Europe. Well, we didn't travel through Rome, I should say, because then, we parted. I did travel through Europe with a friend of mine, and she stayed in Israel, and then I ended up traveling around, and I was a single young woman schlepping suitcases, and one day they said, "There's a sciopero," and I didn't know what that was. Well, that means there's a strike. So I couldn't take the train, and I had to go this way and that way. Anyway, that was, to teach me.
What was your favorite country that you traveled
My favorite country probably was Italy, because I learned the language, and I was able to actually speak Italian fairly well. I thought I was speaking it very well, but there's all kinds of dialects. So, but I lived in Italy for quite a while. Actually, after I was married, I didn't tell you how I got married. Yeah, I did get married because I had 4 kids. I had 4 daughters in 6 years, and don't ask. But before that, I met my husband through a friend, and he was a chemical engineer with UOP, Universal Oil Products. And he was at the airport when I came back from my first Europe trip. And then we got married, and we went all over the place. First of all, we went all over the place in the United States, and I ended up in Arkansas City, Kansas, and I ended up teaching Indians in a Shilako Indian school. And I ended up teaching math and science. Are you kidding? So I did whatever I could do. And then at the time I had Mormon missionaries knocking on my door all the time. And we chatted with them because I haven't a clue about who Mormons were. So then I traveled with my husband, and we went to Switzerland, and we ended up in Sicily, and that was very interesting. I spoke Italian fairly well because I had studied and knew I was going to Sicily. So so first I was pregnant the first time I went to Sicily, and then on our way back, we did, it's hard to keep all this straight. I was pregnant in Sicily, and then I went home and had the baby and then came back. And then when we came back another time, my husband bought an Alfa Romeo, and we traveled from Sicily to Amsterdam and took a boat back, and I was pregnant again So, what can I tell you? And it happens. So then we traveled, the Alfa Romeo made it over to the United States, and then we traveled home. Let's see, what happened next?
Where did you settle when you came home?
Oh, good question. We settled in Niles in a house, a huge house, a very old house that had been around for a while. And then that's where all the activity took place. It was next to commercial property, and I want to just talk a little bit about my house. Now, I'm reading some things that I wrote, and I believe that you don't need so much the facts of my life, although I'm telling you the facts, but I think you need to know something within me, how I think, how I feel, because that's who we really are. So I'm going to read this, The Would-Be Artist in Her House. Well, I've had many incarnations and transformations over 83 years. Student, wife, mother, actor, director, writer, teacher, cook, teller of tales, world traveler, and seeker of truth. The essence of my journey was rootedness. I fancy myself as an artist, my house being my chef d'oeuvre, my chief work. My house is my celebration of self and a life lived in search of its meaning, its absurdity, its diversity, its beauty, its ugliness, its history, its memories, its disparities, its bonhomie, its ghosts of people once known for a time, its celebrations once bursting with cacophony and music, its children defying rules and discovering identities over 40 years. My house has welcomed creatures large and small, drunken Mexicans, feral cats, squirrels, ants, basement dwellers, mice, bats, spiders, daddy longlegs, skunks under the Florida room, people whom I treasure, people whom I gleefully mock, 4 daughters whom I have nurtured and loved, lost souls looking for a home. My house is a testament to my desire to embrace and cherish my life experiences, to feel the echoes of elusive times of joy and fear, to surround myself with a special kind of beauty, objects that sing to my soul, to save my treasures, invested objects, which speak to me of past adventures, to remember children, challenges, especially in the bathroom, 5 people at the same time, to welcome friends into my world of invested objects. To know me is to know my house. To know my house is to know me. So when I face the prospect of relocation, it feels like annihilation. So when I am able to go up and down the stairs, cope with the crazy neighbors, fix whatever goes awry, weather the storms, embrace joy and have gatherings, get rid of the tiny creatures, invaders, cope with inevitable malfunctions, I shall remain for a while steadfast in my rootedness, which is very much like my very old house, embracing trees, leaning as far as they can to reach out towards the sunlight, defying strong winter winds, determining not to break, all the time practicing. So in these times of yearning, restlessness, disappointment, Facebook friends, Zoom groups, and nagging fears, perhaps this is all about the search for the ultimate home. And now, as you all have recognized, leaving home is a whole thing. And I think you can all probably identify with the the feeling of having to leave the home.
How long were you there?
Over 55 years. Oh, and we used to have parties. Okay, that I have to
Yes,
say.
you
that.
called, you told me that was a party house.
Okay, so we were known as a party house, yeah. And so we had parties. We had a lot of parties because my husband and I were in theater. And so and I also directed plays. I was in plays, I'll tell you about that. But we had a lot of parties. And then my kids had a lot of parties. And my husband and I went out on the weekends. And so when we were out, the children sneakily had their parties. And when we came home, surprise, surprise. And my neighbors told me before I left, they said, you know, we always remember your house. Sometimes there were cars parked all up and down the block. Yeah, and my house was known in the neighborhood as the party house. I didn't exactly condone that, but on the other hand, I had parties too, so what am I going to do? I kept busy. Let me tell you the things I did in my life. I kept busy. I directed children's theater in Morton Grove. I performed in plays and musicals. I was Seraphina in The Rose Tattoo, and Martha in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and Zeitel in Fiddler on the Roof. But that was all community theater. I was not professional, believe me, because then I got so nervous before I go on stage. I thought, I'm not going to do this anymore. So then I ended up directing. That was easier. I also was with a group called Imagination Theater, and we did children's theater. We went into various schools all over Chicago, and we did improvisational theater with children. So we had a thing, and I was a character called Kook, and so Kook was the funny one, and then we had a straight person, and we did improvisational things with the kids. We got the kids up, and it was interesting because we had to go to a lot of schools that were a little dodgy, and we did it, and that was fun.
Are you saying that they were in dangerous neighborhoods?
Well,
they weren't suburban schools?
no, they weren't. They were in the city. They were, yes, smack dab in the middle of the city. And we always got lost, and we didn't have the Siri. Said, hey Siri. Anyway, so Imagination Theater was one thing I did, and then my husband also was in theater. So he one or the other of us was going to rehearsal, but our kids were okay. I mean, one of us stayed home. We also went to a lot of plays and all kinds of theater. I should mention that we had 4 weddings in 1 year. My daughters were named Rania, Marisa, Ilana, Sarina. You see the Italian influence there. And by hook or by crook, we had 4 weddings in 1 year. Although all the marriages did not work out quite. I won't go into that. Then I went to Oakton Community College, or I didn't go there, but I was hired there, and I was the director of Acting Up for 8 years. Acting Up was a troupe of players, all of whom were older adults, and we went around to perform, and mainly we performed for high school. So that was kind of cool because high school kids, I have films of the high school kids just laughing and having a wonderful time because younger people, and I'm thinking of intergenerational here, even to get you guys involved with kids and their schools right down the block. So it was a wonderful meeting of the older people and younger people, and I think we could benefit from that here. And then also when I was at Oakton, I had a touring company called the Unincorporated Truly Inspired Way Out Imagination Theatrical Company. And we also toured mainly in high schools. And then I taught courses in acting, public speaking, and humanities. I want to just read something that an acting up lady said about me. Is it in your thing? Portrait of Carol. This is Burdell, who was terribly her imagination and her writing was wonderful. So she's a brown-eyed gypsy in her razzle-dazzle clothes. She's original yet trendy with contemporary modes. The hats she wears are many and she juggles them on cue. She's a mother, teacher, student, wife, director, actress too. Her days are brisk and breathless as she rushes here and there. She meets herself returning on her way to anywhere. She can bellow out the blue notes, croon a kind of, am I blue? Wiggle through a belly dance or do an old soft shoe. She creates a world of fantasy and invites us all to play. We're sometimes into lunacy. It's so much fun that way. Her laughter is contagious. She's better than a machine. When Carol primes the audience, they all begin to scream. Her favorite kind of game is played. It always makes us crack up when Monday morning rolls around and we begin to act up. So that's my older adult troupe. Then I went to the college. I had a little intermission between jobs. And then I was hired at the College of DuPage to start their senior program. They did not have a senior program before then. So, and it was very interesting because I had Maggie Kuhn. Did anyone ever hear of Maggie Kuhn? Well, she created something called the Gray Panthers. And she's long gone. But she was fighting ageism and the whole idea of, that we have ageism in our country and people belittle older people, and she was a real rebel herself. So I was really excited because everybody knew then about Maggie Kuhn, so it was very exciting. Moving right along in my life, I moved from College of DuPage to the Jewish Community Center in Rogers Park and in Skokie. And again, I was the head of the senior program at both places, and it was kind of tricky going back and forth, but Rogers Park was all kinds of people were coming in, and the Russians people were coming in, and somehow they landed there as well. But I had a wonderful program, an intergenerational program, with seniors, my seniors from the JCC, and children from Gale School. So it was an intergenerational program, and we had a grant, actually. And then the children and the seniors wrote together, and then we put it into a book, and then we turned it into a performance with the kids and the seniors. It was pretty cool. It took a lot of rehearsals, and the kids in Gale School, a lot of these kids heard shots every day. It was a very tricky area in Gale School. So it was near Howard Street by the L. I don't know if anybody remembers or knows that territory. Anyway, and then I also taught at Dominican University in the evening. I taught people who were working with older adults. So, and they had to write papers and I had to grade them.
Now, I do remember you telling me about spending some time working at the Niles Library.
Oh, yeah. That's what I did more recently.
Okay.
Well, I worked at Oakton, and then I couldn't double dip because I was getting some retirement, and then I was also teaching non-credit courses. I was teaching in the senior program. So there were all kinds of courses that I taught. I'd come up with an idea, and then they'd do it. And so it was. However, at one point I was teaching classes, and I was also getting some retirement because I had been there before, and so I couldn't double dip. And hence I left Oakton again, and I had classes at the Niles Library.
I see.
And that was wonderful because they were all embracing, and they were able to give me a great room, and people came, and it was great. And I kept that group for a very long time until COVID, basically.
Was this an acting group?
No, this was seniors actually, who were they were originally in my groups, and we talked about plays. So we read plays and discussed the plays, and then we also went to the movies when you could go to the movies, and then we talked about the movies. So it was discussion groups.
I see.
And that proved to be, I mean, the people kept coming and kept coming. I had one guy in his 90s, he was 96, and they were all older people and still able to drive and get out there and go to the movies. And so that was cool. In and around all of this, when I was not particularly working, I tried to do a video business called Legacy of Life Productions, and I found a tech guy, and we went around to various people who I found, or I threw some ads, and I was able to interview them. And then this fellow who was my tech guy was able to put it all together, and we sold that video to them. And I had a number of people call me to say they are so grateful because their father died and they have this wonderful video of him. And so I've done a video of me, and I did of my husband. Oh, I should say I was only married 22 years, and then I had another partner for another 20 years, and then I had another boyfriend for a short time. So I was not in a long-term relationship. I want to just point out, I have something here. It's a book that I wrote during COVID. However, it's not published. It was just for my kids. It's through Storyworth, which is a company that is online. And my daughter found it. And she said, why don't you do this while COVID is going on? So I did. And what they do is they send you a question every week. And then if you don't like the question, you can change the question to meet your requirement. And so I could read
Why don't you read a couple of the questions? I found them very leading to kind of get you started on thinking about different things if you ever want to write a memoir, a book of your life. I thought the questions were very, very well done.
And I tried to have a memoir class when I first got here. And it started okay, and then people kind of didn't come. And so you can let me know if you want to do that again, because I would love to do it again. This is what I've been doing. And here's another book that I kind of put together. It was my acting up group, and this is called Writing Down. And it was their stories that they used in the performances, and then they wrote them down, and then Oakton was able to publish it. So that was good. And I've got a number of other books that I put together. I even typed, when there was typing, I even typed a number of the stories because they wrote them out. But the questions here, the challenge of being a parent for 44 feisty females. What are things you cannot live without? What do you consider your icons? How did you decide how many children to have? Well, I don't think I decided that exactly. It just happened. What is one of the greatest physical challenges you have ever had to go through? If you could see into the post-pandemic future, what will it look like? What was your dad like when you were a child? Are you good at crafts? What's something you've made and are proud of? What inventions have had the biggest impact on your lifestyle? Let's skip some. Where did you go? Oh, I should mention, yeah. Where did you go on vacation? I do have to mention that my second relationship, we traveled very a lot. And I'll just mention some of the countries we went to. England, Scotland, Wales, of course, Morocco, China, India, Bhutan, Peru, Indonesia, Ecuador, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Australia. But those are just some of the places, you know, and he loved to travel and I loved to travel. And so we just kept traveling. And one of the countries that I still really was just startled by was Indonesia. And it was really like being in a whole different world. And we went to 3 of the islands, you know, Indonesia, our island. So not that I'm an expert on all the geography, but yeah.
So I'm sorry.
You go ahead. Yeah.
I imagine you didn't buy things and bring them back. No?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, I am a tchotchke collector, or I love artful things. So
Big time.
Big time. She's taken a little. You're all invited to my apartment, 2438. I have a lot of stuff. And I had a lot of stuff, and I had this big house with all kinds of stuff, and I gave away a bunch, you know, when you move. But some of it was just stuff I hated to give away. It's things I remember where I bought them, I remember why I bought them, and so I'm kind of artsy-fartsy. So in my apartment, I was able to at least I have a collection of masks, which are from all over, and then paintings, etc., pictures, collages that I did, stuff like that. So I am an art collector. I'm limited with space here, but I did have a very big house, and I had what I called a great room, and it had beams, and it, you know, kind of when you go to a lodge and you see the beams and there's this sort of roof. Yeah, so that's the house, and you know, I told you all the things. I'd like to read another poem about getting older. Does that fit the thing? Okay. You know, so I come here, and I've been thinking about this before I came here, but you know, about getting older. This is what we're all doing. So I want to read a poem called Fear of Vanishing. In my salad days, I had been as colorful as a new spring garden, surprisingly sprouting wings of desire, challenging the dull gray of a sunless day, seeing curious shadows lurking everywhere. Now, misty reflections as I see my colors fading and my body softly, silently slipping south. That's an alliteration. Crepey skin, like striations in the wind-whipped sand. I stop to ponder, when will my 5 senses turn off? Like a winter blackout in the midst of spring, or pulling the plug on an old beat-up record player. Thoughts tumble, I stumble, the winds mumble, and time trickles away. Now that's not an upper, but it's thoughts, and maybe you might have thoughts. But these are some other thoughts that I had. This is called Soul Song. The giggly laughter of a baby, the gentle kiss of a breeze, the pungent odors of an oven, the semaphores of giant trees, the secret songs of birds in flight, the music of the sibilant seas, the tiny trickle of raindrops at night, the bursting forth of eager peonies. I had gorgeous peonies. The rainbow color glowing bright, the silent films of past memories. All these mindful moments appear as if in a dream, images inviting in an ever-floating stream. So I obviously I'm not a professional writer. I just all of a sudden something comes to me, and I write it down. And so these are some of the things that come to me. Do you want to ask me another question?
Yes, I'm full of questions. You know, teachers have lots of questions, not too many answers, but questions. With all the things that you did, directing plays, being in plays, memoir writing, I could go on and on and on. If you were to choose one of those that you feel would satisfy you as having given what gifts you have to the world, and just one thing, what would you choose?
Yes, I have done a potpourri of things. Probably what I'm trying to do now, I like getting memoirs, getting people's stories. I love to hear the stories myself because it's literature in a way. And then I do love, you know, what I'm doing now, what I'm trying to do is improv and theater games. And I was disappointed today that very few people came, and I would like to do that some more. It's just fun. You don't have to be prepared for anything. And those people who came had a great time. We have a couple of people here. And I would like to do more of that because Acting Up was a company that I directed, and it was so much fun, and it was so great, and it was all seniors, and everybody loved the show, and it was improv. We improv the whole thing, but we had it written down eventually. But I would like to further that here. And there's tons of other ideas that I have, because I've been working with seniors, and now I am one. So I've been working with seniors most of my life. And that's what I probably would hit on.
Okay, well that's interesting. So you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. A lot of people here have heard about your experience with Acting Up and the improv. Maybe people here were not aware of it. When is that? Is that on Monday?
It's on Mondays. Well, today at 2. Well, we moved rooms. We're on the 4th floor now.
Oh.
In the pool room or
In
whatever.
The pool room.
Yeah.
Okay. The
But
game room? Is
yeah,
that called
the game
room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 4th floor, 1 o'clock.
No, 2
o'clock.
2 to 3.
Don't come at 1. Come at 2. And see what you can do. You might be very surprised, because when someone throws out an idea or an expression and asks you to react to it, it's amazing what comes up. I mean,
Yes,
I've seen it in the past, and it's a lot of fun.
Now, I would like to sing a song with you guys, okay? This is a song I kind of made up. And I'd like you to join the chorus, okay? So I'm going to stand up.
What?
Whoopsie. Oh, no. Oh, the paraphernalia is like, ooh. Hold on.
Are you going to be right here?
No, I'll sit, so I won't. Yeah. Okay, yeah. The melody goes like this. It's called Doing It Your Own Way. And I'll just sing the first verse. I wake up in the morning, open up my eyes. I look in the mirror and then I realize I'm getting older each and every day. But that doesn't mean that I can't do it my own way. Now that's the chorus, so let's just practice that. Can we? I'm getting older. I don't hear you. I'm getting older each and every day, but that doesn't mean I don't hear you. But that doesn't mean that I can't do it my own way. Have you got it? Yeah? Okay, here we go. We're going to go through it. I wake up in the morning, open up my eyes. I look in the mirror and then I realize I'm getting older each and every day. But that doesn't mean that I can do it my own way. When I get awfully weary and cannot move my feet, I sit down with my music and clap and stamp a beat. I'm getting older each and every day. But that doesn't mean that I can do it my own way. My teeth are loose and hurting, my stomach's been a mess, but I ain't lost my appetite, that's one thing I confess. I'm getting older each and every day. That doesn't mean that I can do it my own way. When I get to the market or to the park or show, I very often do forget just which way I should go, but I do get there. Oh, this is a little different. But I do get there each and every day. So that doesn't mean that I can't do it my own way. Now if I cannot boogie or hear the radio, I still remember all those tunes from years and years ago. I'm getting older each and every day, but that doesn't mean that I can do it my own way. I'm wiser than old owl, I'm full of love and joy. Don't think that I'm missing out on playing with my boy. We're getting older each and every day. It's happening to you too, but you gotta do it your own way. Okay. Well, does anybody want to know any intimate details?
Time for questions. Otherwise, I'm going to ask them, and you don't want to hear any more of my questions. Yes, Barbara.
Who's the boy you're playing with?
It's an imaginary.
Oh.
I go out into the balcony. Oh, that reminds me of a story. When I lived in Italy, in Sicily actually, some guy did come to my balcony. And he goes, and he's playing. And I'm going, oh my God, this is like living in a dream. And then I said, and then at the time, I said in Italian, I said, my husband will kill you. That was a good response. Yeah. But, yeah.
So you learned the important words.
Right.
You learned what to...
But I told everybody, oh my God, a guy came to like serenade me on my balcony.
You sure his name wasn't Romeo?
You know, but
yeah. Some more questions. Come on, Ray. I can't believe it.
Have you always been so shy?
What?
Here, I'll give it.
I can't hear you when the water's running.
Right.
Have you always been so shy?
Yes, I am shy. I'm shy. Well, I'm not Carol Verson, but yes. Well, Ray was in acting up.
I was in, well, it became still acting up. I was in it for 15 years. And I didn't realize that Carol had been one of the original directors. When she told me she was, I was very, very surprised. Because we know a lot of people. I'm talking about Brenda Siegel and Barb Brown and Georgia Cohn.
And Lorelei.
And yeah, Laura was here. I wasn't here to see Laura, but yeah, Laura was in it. And Sally was supposed to be coming here too.
Ray, you want to talk a little bit about your experience with acting up? I mean, it was part of your whole. That's why you're, still an actor.
He's getting dressed.
Oh, he's getting dressed. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No, what? Well, okay, my own personal experience. It turns out I was walking down the street one day, and a friend of mine, a guy I knew, Shelley Cooper, his wife and my wife had been in the group. He said, "Ray, you sing, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, I sing." He said, "Why don't you audition for this group I'm in? It's called Still Acting Up." It was Acting Up 1, Acting Up 2, and then they out of Oakton. Then they merged and became Still Acting Up. 3 women, the women I just mentioned, wrote music. So we did original music and original shows, of course. And well, you probably heard my second year in this. We did a show called "Let's Keep 'Em Busy So Don't Make Waves." It was a single seniors cruise. There were about 25 people in the cruise in the group. We would do 6 shows, Monday, Wednesday, for the opening in October, and then we did 14 more shows over the years. We'd come to a place like the Carrington, and we charged $400.
Okay.
And if you don't want to pay the $400, we wouldn't come.
Well, Ray, when I was there, when I did it, we even went to Washington, D.C. to an aging convention.
Yes, I heard you did. I heard about that.
And we also, I had an intergenerational group. I had college kids working with Acting Up. And so that was sensational. And we went to an aging convention and performed.
Didn't you go west somewhere to Denver or something?
Well, we traveled a bit, actually, and then we traveled around here too, and I drove the van. Yeah. But we were rolling all over the place, so yeah. But let me just throw that out, because if you guys are interested, I'm trying to, get people interested in that. I know there's some people here who are interested and have come to the meetings, and I'd like to get it going, and you'd have so much fun and laugh and have a good time, and then if you're really good, we'll take it on the road. Okay.
No, I you're not going to believe this. I forgot.
You forgot what?
To come today.
Oh. I believe.
Yes.
Carol,
Yeah.
you have a member, if you will call him to remind him.
I didn't quite hear that.
Ray says he would come if you would call him and remind him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's up to you now. He threw it right back to you.
Okay. That's part of my frustration is sometimes when I have held a class, people come and then they don't come. And I'm a little frustrated because, I guess my classes that I used to teach, they paid for the class, and so they did come. But it would be my hope, that if I have these groups or have these classes, that people would come regularly.
I think the population is different. We have a lot of people here who unfortunately have a lot of medical appointments, and they don't always get to choose that it not be on Monday at 2 o'clock. I think before, these were able-bodied people who could schedule their week, and that may be part of it.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand.
I've got to see this thing enough. No, for 17 years, every Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock we met.
No, that was when I was there.
That was before.
Yeah, that was before you. Any other questions?
Yeah.
I have a number of those books that I did with different groups, and they wrote down their stories, and we put it together. That was my hope here too, is that enough people, if they would write stories, I would put it together in a book. And yeah, so
Okay.
Any other?
Yeah, I wanted to say something.
Michael has
I've got
a
the
question.
I've got the microphone. So I've been lucky enough not to have medical appointments on Monday afternoon. So I've been coming for a couple of weeks now, several weeks, and I'm finding it tremendously exhilarating and an amazing amount of fun. It's something we did almost automatically as children. We made up worlds as we played. We could be pirates, Indians, cowboys, anything we wanted, and we didn't write down dialogue. We just created it as we played. I think sometimes as adults we sort of get away from that kind of freedom. Actors have scripts, but this is so liberating in the sense that you're free to let your imagination roam and play off the other person you're working with, and it is it's very exhilarating and stimulating, and I hope others will come and join us.
Thank you, Michael. He has come to every meeting. Yeah, it's just having fun.
I don't have fun there. I am your neighbor. And I come there because you asked me to come. And you get so frustrated with me because I cannot do this stuff. And so you and I do a lot of fighting in the class. But eventually I paired up with Michael and he was great. And so she gives us an assignment that we're supposed to pretend we're having this conversation that's made up. And so Michael starts it out wonderfully. We end up having a normal conversation because I can't do this stuff. So if anybody who feels like they can't do it, come and help me.
But come on down, just come on down. Yeah, it's just a fun thing to do, and let it all out. Scream, yell, sing, whatever you feel like doing.
Now, if you should be changing the room, will this come up on the schedule?
Well, so far we're meeting on Mondays 2 to 3 in the game room, and I would love to see a number of you come and just play with us. And it sounds, immature, but it's not. It's great because we need to play more. We need to play. And you need to feel the vigor come back to you. Just, yeah.
Thank you, Carol. Are there any more questions?
Well,
Sure.
Thank you.
Where do you get your leotards?
And the shoes. You didn't ask about the
That's
shoes.
called
Yeah,
leotard.
where I got my leotards. J.C. Penney's.
You don't have
No,
to answer.
why do I wear them? Because, yeah, I
Where do you
like
get
color.
them from?
Color.
J.C. Penney.
J.C. Penney's on sale.
I know why they're on sale.
Yeah. I just, there are other poems that I could read you too about just let all the color out. Be spring every day, I mean, just don't act old, act young. Pretend you're young. Even though you're 8, you got an ache here, you got to go to the doctor here, you can't go to the bathroom, and then you go too much, and then it's go too little, and all of that stuff. But just if you could play, it just erases all that snatching. We don't need to snatch.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You have 4 daughters. I have 3. And that was about my amount. And they're wonderful. Now, what's it like to have 4 daughters?
Well, we all got together for Thanksgiving, and that was great. And everyone was dancing, and it was at my daughter's, not at my house. I usually had it at my house. But it's just, everybody is very much of an individual. They all, we used to dress them alike and go out and to go to, art fairs and stuff, and they were all in their little, pinafores or whatever. But now they are each so different. And that's what,
So have some gone into the creative arts, as you have?
Yeah, one of my daughters, she teaches Spanish, but she has become a singer with a band, and she's, doing artistic things. I had to go see her performance, and it was so loud. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But I put earplugs in. I took my hearing aids out and put earplugs in. And one daughter does Mary Kay, and she's very successful. She has a big car and everything. Another daughter is now doing real estate. She started her own business in California, and now she's doing real estate. She's divorced. And my oldest daughter has her own business, and she's single. And we're going to her place for Christmas.
Oh,
So,
very nice.
all of them, I told you, got married in the same year. The marriages didn't all last, neither did mine, so.
Okay. Last call, questions?
Okay, well,
Well, thank you, Carol. You entertained us. You've shared some wonderful things about your life. I've seen Carol's book. It's quite interesting. Now, how much does it cost to self-publish this?
well, I didn't really pay for it, but I think my daughter paid something like $90, $100 initially. And then I had copies made, which were not that expensive.
I
So-
see, and they're having a Christmas.
They're having, $10 off, $10. I have nothing to do with Storyworth, by the way. I just use them, but and I think there are other companies who enable you to do the same thing. But when I tried to do the memoir class, people just kept writing the same story over and over. And it's like there's so many triggers that I tried to put out there to get the stories out. I mean, I have one story, I don't know. Yeah, I'll share it with you. So one day I was very, this is a funny story. One day my ex-husband and I were sitting, and we had a booth in the kitchen. And so the telephone rang, and I answered it, and a friend of mine, and he said, "Put the phone down." So I didn't like being treated like a little baby, so I put this phone down, and then I sat down, and I was kind of angry. So we had bowls of soup, but they were, sitting there for a while, and I took the bowl and tossed it. And it landed on his head as a funny little helmet. And it had pasta in it, and the little pastinis floated down his face. And my kids went, "No!" And anyway, that has become a family story that everybody knows, and now the grandchildren know the story, and we all laugh. And so there are, situations like that, which are funny or sad or whatever, and you want to capture those things. It's for your children and grandchildren. Because people say, "Oh, I can't write, I can't." But you all have experiences. Get them down on paper. So that's the last word.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Carol. It's been very interesting. I want to announce that the next Everyone Has a Story would have been on the 26th, but since it's the day after Christmas and we know that a number of people will be out of the building, that one will not be held. So the next Everyone Has a Story will be the second Monday of 2023, next year. So hopefully you'll all be well and come back, and maybe by then we'll talk about the fact that COVID's gone and we don't need masks. Right now we need them. So thank you all for coming. Thank you.